I'm Damian Barrett. Welcome to Access All Areas. The Shinboner spirit was alive and well yesterday when the team that many had tipped to finish on the bottom knocked off the Hawks with an inspiring win that has put the Kangas third on the ladder. It was a remarkable victory, Matthew Lloyd and Jimmy Bartel.
Yeah, spot on, Damo. They were so impressive in the first half. They got everything they wanted on their own terms, and it all started from the centre bounce. Big Goldie was, beautiful tap back, great tap work. Down to Ben Cunnington, he was fantastic around the stoppages. And that defensive structure, which could have been a worry, being a bit tall, worked beautifully yesterday with all the intercept marking.
Yeah, you're right. When you're a young side, Damo, you need your best players to play well, and you go through them. Goldstein was brilliant in the ruck. Cunnington best on ground. Ben Brown sensational. Robbie Tarrant marked everything in defence, and Zeeble was the star forward. So their senior players stood up.
And they did it through adversity. They set up that big lead at half-time, 57 points. But then the adversity came in this one passage of play. Higgins taken out by Burton. I might get your views on what happens to him as we talk. And then this also too happened to Zerha.
Vickers Willis.
Yeah,
so look, he just didn't see him until it was too late. The bump by Burton, look, we'll go over it a bit more, but they did hang on really well, bravely. Also, Hawthorn lost one in the second half. Liam Shields had back spasms, which sort of evened up those rotations, but it was a brave win. They adjusted really well. They played a lot more defensively in the second half because they were dominant in their back six.
Brad Scott said it's arguably his best win in his history as the North Melbourne coach. Says a lot. Hawthorn, lost Cyril, lost Poppy, and they lost a lot of pressure through that forward 50.
OK, is it an accident purely from Burton on Higgins?
Yeah, it's really difficult. This is the tough one for the MRO, Michael Christian. He's got to decide whether, I guess, say the majority of the contact was to the body and the incidental head clash.
Yes.
The only one I can think of for maybe a reference for him was when we saw Josh Gibson and Ruggles collide in that game. I think it was early last year, maybe the year before, but that was body-body contact, heads clashed and Gibson got off. So if you're going to use a reference, that might be one, Lloydie.
Yep. North's three-pronged forward attack. It's going really well. Ben Brown finds himself leading the Coleman medal after the round just in question. Zeeble's playing his role. This man, Waite, despite his age, is still missing goals but also kicking them as well.
What a player Ben Brown's become. He's one of the most reliable forwards there is in the game. Zeeble looks a better forward than he does a midfielder now. And look at this defence. I thought Frawley was poor. Mirror's only a second game player, but looked out of his depth in the one-on-ones at times. And then you saw Sicily just overpowered. So this is fantastic for North.
They kicked 9 goals, 8 between them, and look, a couple of them were easy misses from Wadey, so they could have been really destructive. What they do really well, the two tall ones especially, is you never really see Waite and Brown jump into each other. They have a great understanding of where each other are in the forward 50.
Yep. A key to what's happening with North this year with the 3-2 scoreline has been the return of Ben Jacobs. Fixed up Tom Mitchell in a way that has not happened now for probably 2 years, 2.5 years even. Is it crucial that clubs now get a Ben Jacobs in?
Yeah, look, he's a very good tagger, so if you've got a good one, they can be effective.
So if you've got one, you don't try and make one?
Don't try and make one because you lose whatever that player you're trying to turn into a tagger is capable of. It was really interesting how he went about it. We saw Nathan Jones the week before be super tight at every stoppage. The Kangaroos identified, as we said, Goldie being really effective. And they almost played wide of each other in the centre bounce, but once general play happened, he went and put the arm across.
Okay. Q-Clash yesterday finished in dramatic circumstances. The #1 draft pick had a shot at goal. This is Tuke Miller, though, who won the medal. Look at this some other guys. You can see the crucial nature of the game, the time ticking down, and this is a replay of it, so the time was a little bit further out than that. But he had a great game, yeah. So this is that final play we referred to. Gee, he got onto this kick.
He did. He's a thumping kick, Rayner, and you can see his disappointment at the end. The siren goes. He realised he could have drew the game for his side. Didn't, unfortunately, but just on Tuke Miller. I just think that he's the next captain in waiting. I just think that, they're off the radar, the Gold Coast Suns, but on the field and off the field, they just love him up there. Yeah. And he just displayed everything yesterday.
It was crucial to what happened. Won the medal. Post-match, went across to shake the hand of his opponent, Dane Zorko. Have a look. What I can tell you happened as you do take a look at what happened here. Zorko tells him to go away. You can work out what he says by looking at this. But it was out of character for Zorko, who's one of the more affable blokes and one of the more likeable blokes. But he didn't have a good game. Miller shut him down. Just 10 touches only. Gave away 6 free kicks. Unusual behaviour. And he did tell him where to go. Yeah,
look, the frustration's getting to Zorko. He's an All-Australian, so the opposition's going to put a lot of time into him. And the games that they've been very close in or potentially could have won, sides have been able to take him out of the game. He had 10 in this game, he had 12 in another and an 8. So he's got to learn to fight his way through it or have some sort of impact, not just possessions.
Okay. Lotto, shaking hands post-match, yes or no?
He'd be embarrassed by that, Zorko, unless something has happened previously that really upset him. But I was just telling you guys a story beforehand that I was 20 metres off Presta Giacomo one day where he absolutely blanketed me on Anzac Day. I didn't go out of my way to go and shake his hand.
Right.
And Mick Malthouse was watching from the top as the Collingwood coach and just said to my brother, who was also in the box, how poor it was from me, and that's just not on. And I'll put my hand up there and say it was sour grapes, probably a little bit like it was for Dane Zorko there.
What about yourself, Jimmy?
I used to love watching Stevie J and Ryan Crowley shake hands, or it was almost like they'd pull each other in close to give each other a couple more rib tickles after the game. They just couldn't let it go.
Yeah. We saw a few things in that game yesterday, including this. Charlie Cameron, if he doesn't win goal of the year for this effort, I'd be surprised.
He's becoming nearly the heartbeat for this side. What a recruit he's been, because some will say, oh, how will Charlie Cameron go in a lesser side? He's been at Adelaide for a long time, but he's been a brilliant player so far this year.
Yeah, that's a big thing, Lloydie. I think we've discovered he's a genuine star of the competition, just not a star in a system at that Crows forward line. He kicks goals every week. He can play almost the full forward role as an undersized forward, but the build-up to this goal is just as good. He was involved in all facets of that play.
Yep. He's fitting in well. They could do with a win, though, couldn't they, right now, the Brisbane Lions. Lindsay Thomas returned to AFL footy for his new club, Port Adelaide, and got himself in the news, as he so often has done in the past, for the wrong reasons. Guys, it was described by some people as a dog's act. I didn't see it that way. Yes, he did the wrong thing. Yes, he's going to miss matches of football for this hit on Scott Selwood. What did you make of it, Lotto?
He got it wrong. He ran past the ball. He's hit Selwood high, finished Scott Selwood for the day. But I'm with you, Damo. I heard Mark Robinson yesterday say it was a dog's act. I heard Cameron Ling also say, but Mark Robinson also threw the Byron Pickett incident of many, many years ago, which changed this rule. Here's some other incidents of Lindsay Thomas probably just going over the edge. And everyone will say, what's he thinking and all that. He's trying to impact for his club, but he's crossed the line. But I just think it was overkill from those people to say dog's act. Yep. It's an incident of 20 years ago.
He's an old school footballer. Yeah. I'm not making excuses for him because I've been as critical of him over the journey as anyone for what he does by way of causing these problems. But I'm with you, Lord. I just think he chose to bump when he shouldn't have, and he's on a couple of weeks. But it wasn't anything more than that.
Yeah, he got it wrong, and it was a little bit crude by getting him high. But we even saw him one of those shots there. He actually collects Selwood first on the sort of the forearm elbow before it goes high. But he's a victim of his past instance. And fortunately for him, you don't have the loading anymore. So Michael Christian and the MRO will just look at that incident alone.
Yep. Paddy Dangerfield is many things to many people. On the weekend, he was a peacemaker to Zach Tui. Have a look. We're going to highlight it here, top of screen. Melee forming on the interchange. This is Tui in danger.
Yeah, he's ready, the WWE there, to come in and tap in for the wrestle, but you've got to stay inside that little interchange box, and Danger always aware of that. He's like, hang on, just chill out, cool out.
Maybe you please explain for Tui, because as an interchange player, you cannot get involved in something going on the field. Yeah.
We'll stick with Dangerfield here too. This is his head clash with Hamish Hartlett. Just extraordinary courage from two men here who hit heads really quickly. We know that Hartlett came off worse. He had the blood flowing, was taken off the ground by Stretcher, came back on courageously. Dangerfield, though, Jimmy, just got straight up and made it known he wasn't going off.
Oh, if anyone has questions of if the game's tough enough, have a look at those two blokes. That was eyes on the ball commitment. He's just testing his ear there, saying real adventures, testing 1, 2, 1, 2. Look, they're both incredibly brave and tough, but both got concrete heads, don't they?
Yeah. There was a $10,000 fine suspended over Port Adelaide for an incident where they did introduce Hartlett to the play back in 2016 after a head clash. I don't expect any issue there from the AFL. They put him through the right protocols. Port Adelaide misfiring though, aren't they, really?
Yeah, it's been a poor couple of weeks, poor 3 weeks. They just got over the line against the Brisbane Lions, but this is their forward line. And look at Charlie Dixon, 3 goals from 5 games, and he's a real barometer for Port Adelaide. Chad Wingard, I'd be disappointed with him. I think he's got to get fitter. Chad Wingard hasn't looked great.
I'm worried about him, Otto.
Yeah, I am too. He used to be
sky's the limit stuff for him, but it's not now.
No, he's a long way from the All-Australian he was many years ago. And Watts and Motlop, you're going to get that from them. That's why they were traded from their clubs. But I think we're forgetting the loss of Paddy Ryder. That's hardly been mentioned, but no Ryder, maybe no Port Adelaide. That's how big it's become, the absence of Ryder.
All right, Paddy, even after the game, doing it as well, with a young kid in the rooms, had time to, I suppose, give him a kick of the ball.
Yeah, well, that's what makes him so great, his ability to just focus when it comes game time. So post-match, pre-match, we've seen him do interviews on the way to the game. He can just compartmentalise. When it's time for footy, it's time for footy, and look, that's fantastic shots that we get to see there.
Saturday night, we saw one team on the rise in the Fremantle Dockers and one really struggling, the Western Bulldogs. I think with the Western Bulldogs, if they are to not have pressure at the moment, they've really got nothing to their game. I think it's their pressure that got them back against Essendon, their pressure against Sydney. Did not have that, and Freo will cut you up through that midfield.
Yeah, with the Bulldogs, you've got to remember this is not the 2016 side. This is a side that's going out there with an average of about 50 to 60 games, and they fluctuate like a side that only averages 50 to 60 games. We saw last week Brisbane not bring it and got absolutely torched by Richmond. So the young sides are going to go up and down throughout the year, and the Bulldogs are like all those.
What the Dockers win did do though was set up a really appetising clash on the Derby.
They did, and Aaron Sandilands and Fife were enormous. I think they've changed their backline. They used to be this poor-kicking, slow defensive team, was now with Nathan Wilson. They've got Luke Ryan, they've got Blakely, and Alex Pearce returning. It's made them a different side.
That's the twilight fixture of the round coming up. The Friday night fixture, it's not as exciting, is it? Carlton versus Western Bulldogs.
Yeah, I think the AFL would have been hoping these two sides were back, or Carlton were on the rise and the Doggies back to, as we said, that 2016 form. I think we might see a lot more people watching this one from home than at the ground.
Yeah, the Crows had a really courageous win on to start the round, didn't they? They're undermanned, and yet their key players who are on the ground stood right up.
Arguably the greatest win of this season so far, I think, with the way they did with the players. No, Sloan, Crouch, Betts, Mackay, Smith, and lost Hardigan early. I thought Don Pike coached extremely well. Yeah,
well, it's the model against the Swans, especially at the SCG at the moment. Port Adelaide got them, and it's almost you try and take away Buddy and force another Swans forward to beat you, and they did that really well with lots of numbers back in front of him.
Yep, Tom Dudo stepping up in Jake Lever's absence. The draw, the St Kilda game on the weekend. Have a look, guys. Was it a free kick to Jake Carlisle?
Have you heard some whispers around from AFL?
There are some whispers going around that's been signed off by the AFL saying that Brent Wallace paid the right decision, as in to not pay a decision.
So I agree.
I agree with that, by the way.
They're saying that's incidental contact in the marking contest.
That's what we're hearing this morning.
Yeah.
And I agree with it.
And Jake summed it up beautifully. He should have taken the mark. We move on, 2 points each. Well done, Saints. They were much, much better.
Yep. Jimmy, you're a bit of a playmaker on the ground, had been at the Times. Did you like what Jeremy Cameron did when he threw this away? He gave away a 50-metre penalty.
Yeah, well, it's 50 every time, but I wish it wasn't. It's actually kind of a bit of fun. Have a look at Jaron Geary's face. He's outraged here. Like, what are you doing? Blake Akewood's still in shock that his boot's been turfed nearly over the fence.
Courage. It comes in all forms. Let's have a look at the first form it comes in. This is on field, and this is Tom Papley just putting everything at risk here.
This Papley one was exactly the spot that Nick Revolt took that famous mark at the SCG many, many years ago. Just identical spot. Well done to Tom Papley. And this one from Jackson Nelson, who was the West Coast Eagles, got pushed by Matty Wright. We'll see it again. And the big fella, Casbolt, dropped the knee and he got straight back up.
Yeah, but I think we're about to see everyone's favourite coming up here. Up at the Q Clash, I think this guy that we're about to see might take the chockies, Damo.
More courage than what you just saw.
Unbelievable courage, this. Ball comes in here, set shot for goal in the drinking section. What's he doing? Misses the spoil. And have a look at the look on his face. I think he's got his profile picture for Facebook.
And ripped his jeans at the same time.
Hey, Richmond-Melbourne. Who wins that one game on Tuesday night?
Richmond.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the Tigers.
Yeah. And the big one, Essendon, Collingwood.
I think Essendon's upside is bigger and they can win this one.
I'll go Collingwood. 50-50 game for me.
There you go. Jimmy, Matthew, thank you. And thank you once again for joining us on the #1 sports website in the country. We'll see you next Monday. Goodbye.